Alright, we've got our box here, which is a 7-inch paper mache box from Hobby Lobby. And I've got the inside base coated with 2 coats of soft black, and I went ahead and applied 2 coats of satin varnish in there, so if I accidentally get paint in here as I'm moving the pieces around, I can just wipe it right out. And so the outside I've painted with 2 coats of sapphire. So now I want to start adding some color on the outside of the box. And so this sponge is just a foam sponge from the kind of foam pad that you get to put on mattresses on your beds. And so I've just got a little bit on each little nubby thing of this. And I'm going to put these 2 colors. I've also got water on my palette, so I can pick up some water so I can kind of gently blend these together along the bottom of this. And the colors I have is Teacock Peel and Lavender. So we're going to take this all the way around with this color combination here. That's a pretty hard line that we've got going there, so I'm going to go to the other side. Well, before I go to the other side, I'm going to, whoops, not do that. I'm going to kind of gently blend these 2 together by just swishing my sponge back and forth on the line where they meet, getting those colors to blend more. I want to move quickly so this doesn't dry. Alright, now I'm going to go to the opposite side of my sponge, the back side of it, if I can pick it up. This sponge is pretty worn, let me tell you. I've had it for a long time, and I'm picking up our base color. So now I just want to kind of blend that where these, oh, not like that. Don't do it like that. Do not do it like that. I want to blend where these 2 go together. Soften that down a little bit. A little bit more paint there. Now you can do this modeling while the sapphire is wet on your second coat and not let the sapphire dry. That would probably be a little bit easier to do it that way. So, in my hand, it doesn't look like a very hard line, but looking at it on the camera, it looks like a really hard line right through there. So I think what I'm going to do is let this dry and then come back to it and see how it looks once it's dry. Alright, so I decided I did not like these colors. So I am going over them with some dioxazine purple and some blue violet with the same sponge, just kind of modeling it, which just means I'm kind of blending them together. So see, it's just paint. You can just go right over whatever you don't like. And I wanted this to be kind of more dark, more Halloween. So I could have just started this whole project over and rebase coated and showed you how to do this, but I wanted to show you how if you paint something you don't like, it is only paint. Just find some new colors and paint right over it. It's as easy as that. Just tap it on, gently blend. You got to have some water in your sponge to really get that to blend out nicely. Okay, so I think that looks so much better. So I'm going to do the bottom down here as well. I have to let my sides dry. Get some more purple out here. And if some of your sapphire peeks through, that's just perfectly fine. So complete coverage is not necessary. You just want a nice blended background. Okay, so then we're going to get this all nice and dry and come back and do some more detail on the outside of this. Okay, I've got this dry. Now I want a stencil on here. And I'm just going to use this swirly stencil. You can use whatever kind of stencil that you have that you like. That's maybe a Halloween type stencil. This is just a stencil I bought at Michael's. That's a plaid stencil. It is their swirl background stencil. So I like this stencil a lot. So what I'm going to put on the background is this metallic luster. And this color is brilliant turquoise. And this is what it looks like. And so I've scooped out a little bit on my palette. Okay, and I've got a fingertip dauber that I dampened, and I pulled a little bit of this out. And I'm kind of tapping it on the end of my dauber to get it on there. I think I will spritz some water on my palette in case I need some water. I can go over to my water and work it into my paint there. And then just lay your stencil on here. This is just a swirl stencil, so it has no right or wrong to how it goes on here. I like to tap a little bit of water in there just to soften that metallic luster up a little bit. So you're going to go all the way around. And this will go pretty quick because the stencil covers a pretty large area. So I would think 3 times around with this stencil would probably get the whole surface. So we're just going to pounce up and down all the way around. Straight up and down. Don't overfill your dauber thing. This is just a fingertip dauber. And when I base coated my box, I didn't tell you this, but when I base coated it, I just used an artist sponge to do it. I like to get my base coating done as quickly as possible, and that seems to get it done the fastest. Now some of this will be darker than others, and that's perfectly fine. You want a more irregular pattern. So, oh, isn't that pretty? I really like that. Alright, so we're going to finish this all the way around. And if you don't have this metallic luster, you can use a metallic paint. If you don't have a turquoise metallic, you can use a gold or a silver. Either one would look nice. Silver would look really nice. So you know, if you're wanting to paint this right away and you don't have this particular product, then use what you have on hand, but be sure and get some of this and try it, because I love this product. I just think it's one of the best products that DecoArt has come out with, so give it a try. Comes in a multitude of colors as well. Okay, I've got the bottom done as far as I'm going to go for now. I think it turned out really pretty. I really like that subtle swirling in the background. Now we may come back and do some more on this later, but for now we're just going to set this aside. And I wanted to tell you too that you don't have to use a sponge like this. You can use a sea sponge. You could use the makeup sponge to sponge those colors on there, and you know, just create it the way that you would like. But I like that subtleness of the blues and the purples in there. Very, very Halloween kind of looking. Okay, so now on the bottom here, I laid my pattern on here, and then I just put my my graphite paper underneath it. I laid my ruler along that line, and then with my stylus I just drew that line right across there. So now I know where my horizon line is. So we're going to start working on that. Okay, let me zoom in just a little bit here. Okay, I want to put some colors in the background here. And I think we're going to try some of this Salem blue in here. It might be too light, but we'll see. I don't know if I've used this color on another project. I may have. We'll take some of our blue violet, which we put on our bottom, and maybe just a touch of lavender. I don't know if I want lavender or dioxazine purple, so maybe I'll put just a tiny bit of each one out, because I'm not really sure which one will get me the effect that I want to go for here. Okay, I'm just going to take a large, an old large brush, and I'm going to wake it up in my water. Remember, when your brushes are dry, if you haven't painted with them, they need to be conditioned and ready to work, so you have to fill them up with water. So let the bristles get completely full of water, and then I just lay it on here and let the excess water wick out, and I dry the ferrule off. Okay, I want to dampen our horizon here, so I need a little bit of that water back in my brush. So I'm just putting some water on here. This is a very small piece, so we don't have to get too caught up in technicalities here. So I'm just going to put some of this Salem blue in here, just kind of slap it all in that background. We want kind of an eerie looking sky. We'll go into some of our blue violet and add some of that around in here along our horizon line. Gently blend those. My bristles are coming apart here. I just went and picked up a little bit of water and then touched my paper towel to get the excess off. Okay, let's go with some lavender up at the top. Now, if your surface dries too quickly before you can get your paint on there, just put a little paint in your brush, and you can get the same effect in there. We want it to be a little bit brighter towards the top and center, because we're going to put our moon in here. Let's get some lavender back in here. Very gently kind of blend these colors together. I want some more of this blue in here, this Salem blue. So let me put a little bit, good more amount in there. I'll go back into my lavender. And we'll just kind of work those two together. Now we'll go into our blue violet. And we'll work that in. You need your paint to be wet. So you want to do a wet on wet. You can even have a misting bottle handy. That will help, and mist it onto your paint and gently blend it. Okay, so we've got a very, very cool looking sky, and that was just blending and letting the colors kind of blend together, using some water in your brush, and just letting the paints kind of marry together and be happy together. Need some more blue down here. Right along this edge here. Alright. Work that in. You won't see a whole lot of that at the horizon line. It's going to be blended in. Okay, so down here on this lower part, I think we'll put, we'll dampen it a little bit, not too much, and we'll put some dioxazine purple down here, and maybe some of our blue violet, the colors that we used on the side. We want to keep it a little bit more on the purple side here, I think. I got too much water in my brush, so let me get that out. And just pick up the colors and work them in together. I might put just a touch of this blue in there, not too much. We'll have a little bit of glow from the moon. I don't really, on my pattern, I'm not really sure how much of this you'll see. So I'm just going to slip slap, kind of blend that out, and it will kind of all fade away. And that's a little glow down there because we're going to have a moon up in here, and that could be a little glow from the moon. So that was a very easy process of doing that, just keeping some water in your brush. Pre-dampen it, but don't get it sopping wet. And then as your brush feels like it's drying, just go pick up a little bit more water on your brush, or keep a misting bottle handy and just lightly mist where you're working and kind of help work that out. You don't want too much water because it will make your paint fade away. But if that happens, just get the water out of your brush, a little bit of the excess out of your brush, and pick up more paint and just keep working it. But you want to work it while it's wet so that you can get this nice blending effect on your piece here. Okay, I'm transferring my moon on here, so I put my pattern on. My transfer paper, my graphite paper is on the other side. Okay, and I've got this circle template that you can buy at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. They sell all different sizes. So I put it on my circle and traced around it, used my stylus, and there it is. Now for our trees in the background, you can go ahead and transfer these, but you don't really need to if you don't want to, because that's just background stuff. So we're going to paint the moon in, and I want to get my warm white. Well, let's see. I think I'm going to make a yellow moon instead of a gray moon. So we're going to paint the moon in with moon yellow. So, getting out a good flat brush. That was my kind of old, worn out one that I did my base coating with. If you can use an older brush when you're base coating, especially if you're base coating on rougher surfaces, And you can save your good brushes, you know, for as you need them. I need to get my easel out and put this up on the easel, don't I? Would make it probably a little bit easier for you. Would definitely make it easier for me. Okay, I've got just a little bit of water in my brush, thinning my paint down just a little bit. It just comes off of the brush so much nicer. You don't have thick, globby paint, and you don't get ridges. And I like to start my paint out here and then kind of go over to the edge so I don't have a whole lot of paint. And make sure your circle stays a circle. Most important. Breathe while you're doing it. Almost went off the edge of the lid here. Now I haven't painted the sides of the lid yet because I'm not really sure what I want to do with that. And so there is a coat of our yellow on there. So while that is drying, we are going to take some a liner brush or a small round, whatever you have. I think I'll use a liner brush though. Soon as I find where I put it. I don't know why it's always the last brush I can find in my brushes. Maybe because it's the skinniest. So I like to use a 10-0 liner. Okay, we're going to get our blue violet out. And we've got in our blue, or our Salem blue, the colors we used in the background here. And I'm going to take those colors and I'm just going to mix them together. Create a little bit lighter blue for our background trees. Okay, and we want our paint to be thinned. Not runny thin, but like inky consistency. And then we'll see if this color's going to work. Oh, I think that's going to be nice. And we're just going to go in here and put some distant trees back in here. And you can just make your trees however you want. If your paint is not flowing, then you need a little bit more water in it. It should just flow nicely off of your brush. And you decide what your trees look like and how many you want on here. So I'm going to put a taller one beside it here. And we're going to do this all across our horizon line here. And when you're making tree branches, you're like making the letter Y. So let me make this limb here a little bit darker. So you're just pulling. You can kind of wiggle your limb and then make a little Y off of it. And every little branch that you make, you can make an additional Y off of it. So I'll pull this one, then I'll make a Y off of that, maybe a little Y off of that one. And then another one here. And these will kind of subtly fade into the background. I'll show you how to do this side of the lid, and then I'll go off camera and finish. We're going to go all the way across so that I don't take up so much camera time. Okay, so I've got my main trees in there, but back in here I want to create the illusion of more trees back in here. So I'm just going to pull some like trees up back through here. And then you could have a few little limbs coming off of some of these way back in here, but you don't have to get too much going on with these because they're not going to be our main focal point. They're just kind of some accent stuff going on back in there. So you can kind of see. I think my paint color right in here is very similar to my background color, so I don't know if I need to lighten it or darken it. So there, I lightened it just a little bit, which is okay because it can be a little glow off of the moon there. So what I want you to do is mix your paint to however you did your background. You want it to be just a subtle shade lighter, and so that you can see it a little, you want to subtly see it, but you don't want it to scream out at you, you know what I'm saying? So you'll have to adjust based on the color that you mixed. So see, I put those on there and they didn't quite show up. So I'm just going to go back over them with a little bit lighter mix. These up here showed up just fine, but I'm going to put some of the lighter on there as like a a little glow from the moon there. I'm not going to redo every limb. I'm just going to put a little bit on here. A little bit of water as you need it, because you want this to flow very nicely. Okay, a few little stray limbs here and there. Okay, so we can kind of see those trees a little bit better. And we got our distant looking trees back in there. So we're going to do this all the way across our bottom down here, and we're going to get a second coat on our, well, you know what, we'll wait for the second coat, because when the second coat is on there, we want to add some more colors into the moon. So we're just going to, for now, finish up our trees across the bottom here. Okay, let me zoom in here. Alright, I'm going to apply a quick second coat on here. Of my moon yellow. When I get done painting my moon, I'm going to come in with some of my tree branches and let them come up over my moon a little bit. And this will really push the moon back up into the sky. Okay, we're going to work quickly like we did down below. I'm going to spritz my palette with some water in case I need some water, some clean water. So I'm going to dip the toe of my brush in a little bit of spiced pumpkin. And I'm just going to tap this around my moon. And it's blending with that yellow. So I'm just tapping it and blending it. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of cadmium yellow and add some of this in here. Just tap it and blend. And you can do this as many times as you want with the moon. I'm going to put a little bit more of our orange in here. But you need to work while it's wet. I'm going to go into some antique gold and put a little bit, I need some water here. A little bit of this in here. And we're making a really nice looking moon here. I'm keeping the antique gold a little bit more on the outer edge of the moon. I don't want to overblend any of my colors. I want to keep them pretty where you can see all the colors. So if you feel like you're not seeing any moon yellow in there, then you can just go pick up a little bit, kind of blend it in. Keep the edge of your moon very nicely shaped, a nice crisp edge there. Oops. Don't get out of line like I just did there. Water on my brush would be good. Just remove that with a damp brush. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more cad yellow. Kind of mix that in here. And I think just a touch more orange. So I might just put both cad yellow and orange on my brush, and then I can just kind of blend those together nicely without overtaking one or the other. And just kind of tap it, tap, tap. Just tap it in there. Okay, if it starts getting sticky, you need to get out of it and let it dry, because this is paper kind of that we're painting on, this paper mache box. So if you just keep overworking it, you're going to lift it and you're going to tear your paper and everything. So it's important. I can't remember if I did on this one or not, but it's important to put a coat of multi-purpose sealer on. So if I didn't do that to begin with, shame on me, because even working on a paper mache box, you should still do that step. Okay, we need to get our moon dry, but while it is drying, I'm going to take that mix that we did for the trees and a few of the branches. I want to bring, we got to make a glow around this moon yet, but a few of these branches I want to carry up into our moon. They can just come right across. Okay, and this will definitely help push our moon back a little bit. So just take a few of your branches and work them over and into your moon. You don't want to cover up your moon, but you want to give the look of it being a little bit more pushed back. Okay, so that's how we do that. That's how we get that moon to look a little more pushed back there. I think I'm going to extend these a little bit. Not into the moon, but they look like they need to be longer. This one right here needs something. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, I think these over here are just a little bit too light. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the, too much water there in my brush, a little bit more of the darker color in here. kind of fading back in there too much. And although we want them to be in the background, we don't want them to fade completely away, so a little bit of extra on here. Can't get my paint the right consistency now. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's see if we can get some really dark ones back in here. I don't know if they'll show up because it might be too much the same color. Just the illusion of some way back in there. Our moon's about dry, so we can add some little dry brushing back in there, or dry brushing around our moon here. Okay, we're going to create a glow around this moon. We're going to take a dry, scruffy brush, load it with some paint, rub the paint off, and now very, very gently we're going to start rubbing some color around this moon. We don't know how much paint will come off at once, so we want to be very easy with this and just get that glow. We could have done this before we added our branches on here coming over the moon, because we'll now have to go back and touch those up because I wasn't remembering that I needed to do this step before I pulled those limbs over. So a little bit of glow. And we can even put a little bit of this glow down here. Like I said, I don't know how much of this we're going to see, but I am using the softest of pressures here. Okay, it's very soft pressure. It may sound like it's not, but it is. Open this out just a scooch more. Okay, needs to be a little bit brighter. I'll try a little bit of cad yellow now. Definitely want to do those branches again. Okay, so now we want to let this glow just kind of fade away. So very light pressure, because we don't want a hard line around our moon here. So we're going to let this just gently come out and fade. And we can put a little bit more down here. Okay, so now let's go back in and add our tree limbs back in. So you definitely want to do your moon. I'll switch my instructions around, I think. And we will do our moon first and then add our trees in. So hopefully you are not painting right along with me and getting upset with me. It's like, oh, why didn't you do that first, Lonna? Now I've got to paint all those little branches back in. I apologize, but look at all the practice you get to do with your liner brush. Oops. This is great, great practice. Except I seem to be just making boo-boos everywhere. So every tree limb that we put the glow on will need to be painted back in. I've got something on the end of my brush here. If they'll only need to be painted back in if you painted along with me. If you didn't paint along with me, you're good. Okay, and that really pushes the glow and everything back behind those trees, brings the trees more forward. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then we made our little dry brush of a glow right through there. So, I think that looks nice. Looking good. You're doing a great job. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to need this again, but if you've only got one scruffy brush, you want to clean it out with some hand sanitizer and then wipe it out really good on pull all the hand sanitizer out of it on a dry paper towel. And then you can reuse it again very quickly. If you've got extras, just go ahead and wash it out. And then clean it really well when you are done painting so that the paint doesn't set up in there. If you don't have hand sanitizer, you can use rubbing alcohol as well to get the paint out of it, and then wipe it off on a dry paper towel, and that will take care of that part of it in case we need to use that brush again. I'm not really sure on this project if we'll need to be dry brushing again, but we might. So it's always good to have it to where you can grab it and use it again. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and transfer the remainder of my pattern on here so we can get going. Okay, got our moon all done, the glow. It looks really good. We'll have to adjust our glow down here, bring it more over on this side. But I got my pattern on, so I wanted to show you how I'm going to undercoat my pumpkins, because the oranges can be a little bit transparent, especially on this darker background here. So I'm going to take my my pumpkins in the back are going to be the spiced pumpkin. So I'm taking some moon yellow and I'm mixing some spiced pumpkin in it to tint that moon yellow color. And then I'm going to go in here and just base coat them. I've got just a little bit large of a brush here. I probably could have gone to a smaller brush. So this is going to be undercoating for our pumpkins. These two little pumpkins back here. And then we'll come back and put our second and probably a third coat on here of just the spiced pumpkin. And then this one here, we're going to do the same way. Oops. We're going to take our Moon Yellow and mix Tangelo Orange with it. And we'll base coat in this pumpkin. Now this pattern you can put on any surface. I just thought it would be fun to put it on this box. If you've got a special grandchild that you make special Halloween treats for every year, you could give it to them in a box like this. A nice little keepsake. Okay. Alright, our broom, I'm going to go down to a smaller brush here. We're going to undercoat or base coat it with Moon Yellow. So the brush I was just using was a 10 flat. This is an 8. Let me see if it's going to be small enough. We're going to undercoat. We're going to do the handle later. It's going to be all yellow, and we probably shouldn't have taken that all the way to the edge. I want to just kind of giving me an idea of where that stuff needs to go. So on this edge here, I might remove some of this paint because I want some of that blue to show through, because it's not going to be a solid broom. So I'm just taking a damp brush and just removing some of the yellow that I just put on there. And I'll just remove it all the way to the edge, and then I'll just come back and repaint it. That'll probably be just the easiest thing to do. So I'm just using a damp brush here. Because my paint wasn't dry, it was still pretty wet. So I didn't have to worry too much about it. Okay, so my yellow, when I come back this time, I want to make it a little more jaggedy, like this. Okay, that's pretty jaggedy, but you know, we got layers to put on that, so I'm not going to worry about how it looks right now. The pot itself, I'm going to base coat with graphite. And all of these base coats will require 2 coats. Cover up all of our purple. Now is when I should probably go to a larger brush. So I'm going to go up to a 1/2 inch flat here for part of it, and then I'll probably go down to a smaller brush. So I was going to work myself to death with that little 8-inch brush. And our hat, we're going to paint black, of course. We'll just make it solid black. And we'll put the broom handle on after we get this pot done. So I'm not going to worry too much about my straw right there, because the broom will probably be the last thing that we paint on here, on this little scene. I love painting fall, I love painting Halloween, I love decorating for Halloween. I think I like decorating for Halloween because it's mostly outside decorations. And I don't really have to move any furniture or anything in my house. So when I'm doing Christmas decorations, it's like, oh, I gotta move that chair, and then I've gotta move that table. And as I age, I'm thinking I should get one of those little 2-foot trees, because the big one is getting much more difficult to put together. Okay, I'm going to go to a smaller brush. I think I'm going to go to a round brush here and do my handles. And I'm going to do just the outside edge on the back. So I'm just going to show you all of my first initial base coats, and then I'll go off camera and do my second coats, and you can go and do all of your coats. Okay, so I want to just go along the outside back here. And I can bring it down in the pot just a little bit. We're going to paint the inside of this a different color. So let's paint the inside of it olive green. Our witch's brew, to me, always should be green. A bright green. Okay, looking good. Looking good. Alright, for the belt, I am going to, the belt part. The belt part, I'm going to paint lavender, and I do need to paint inside. Let's see, the inside of that, should that be charcoal or should that be lavender? We're going to make it lavender. Okay, so our belt itself will be lavender. I'm just using a round brush here. What size do I have? A 3? Yeah, 3 round brush. So you just use whatever brush you're comfortable using. Inside here, this little section in here will be lavender. Alright. Actually I was going to make that green and this lavender, but we will swap them out then. The witch's hat, well, let's see, let's finish the buckle here. We're going to do cocoa on the buckle. I'm going to make this a shiny buckle, but we need to undercoat it with our cocoa here. And while we have the cocoa, we'll go ahead and put our stems on our pumpkins. Okay, kind of round these edges here a little bit more. And this one here needs to be a little bit more rounded. Okay, so let's do our tops on our pumpkins. Okay. Alright, our witch's hat we are going to base in with black. And the belt, we're going, on the hat, we're going to make the same green that we put up there. So, let me get a flat brush here. Oops. Didn't draw my line quite right here. I want everything to line up here. Just filling in like we're coloring. Rounded there. Okay, let's do our belt on the witch's hat. Green. It's the same green that we used up above. Alright, and since we have all of our colors out, we might as well go ahead and base coat in the bats up here. So we're going to base coat them in with, or let's do black. So they've got a little like round or oval body, and then their wings come off. Trying to make them a little pointy on the ends. Give them a couple little ears. Sorry for the delay there. I got paint all over my arm. I had to clean that off before I transferred it somewhere. Give you these little ears. And his wings. And then just fill them in. And one more bat here. And then I want you to go in and start, before you start applying your second coats, erase all of your graphite lines that you can still see. Get those out of the way so they're not distracting. Just make it a little more pointy there. Okay, so there's all of our initial base coats on. So I'm going to go off camera and get my second coat on each of the base coats, get all of my graphite lines erased, and except for my broom. I'm not going to put the second coat on here or worry about the handle. It'll be the last thing that we add on here. So we're going to get our second coats on everything else and come back and get going. Alright, got all my base coats on here, so let's get started. I'm going to work on the pumpkin first. Zoom in. And I went ahead and drew my pumpkin stem down into my pumpkin and put my couple of base coats of cocoa down in there so it would match. So we're going to start creating our little grooves in here with some ox blood. And I'm just going to use a flat brush to float on this project. I'm going to have a lot of smaller areas. So I want to go along each section. What I would call the back side of the sections. On the other pumpkins, we'll use Tangelo orange. We'll see if it will show up on there. One more. I'm just using an 8 flat brush. Use an angle brush if that's what you're used to using, or whatever brush that you like to use. Hopefully I'll be keeping you on camera here. So we're going to try some Tangelo on the one in the back. I have a feeling this may not show up. Yeah, it's going to show up, I think. These pumpkins back here, they don't have to have a whole lot of detail. Up on the tippy toe on this one, almost lining it because it is such a small pumpkin. Okay, now highlighting on this one, we're going to use cat yellow. Might start with some antique gold first. And we can use antique gold on these back here as well. So I'll just put a little bit on here. Okay, and then we're going to put antique gold on this bigger one here. Keep water spritzed on your palette for water as you need it for your brush. Especially want that water on your palette for clean water when you are adding water to your lighter colors, because you don't want to go into your water basin because it will darken up your paint. It will change the color of your paint because the paint that's already in the dirty water. Okay, that's just a quick highlight on there. I think before we go any further, I want to put my highlight back here. And we can use moon yellow or cad yellow or a combination of the two. Remember, we load our dry scruffy brush just work that highlight right through here. Maybe down to here a little bit. So it could be coming like right through there. I'm going to float a little bit of violet, blue violet. Let's see what we had purple back there, didn't we? Some lavender. Back here, clean that edge up just a touch. Back there. Just clean it up a bit. I got my horizon line a little crooked now. And straighten that up. Okay, this is just a white eraser. I sell these on my website. And they are wonderful not only for erasing your graphite lines, but for when you get paint out of an area you want to remove paint, and the paint hasn't cured, then you can take this and dampen it and clean that paint right off of where it was that you put it, that you don't want it any longer. Okay, that's good enough for that highlight through there. Clean my scruffy brush out again. Alright, I'm going to brighten up the highlight on the pumpkin, the big pumpkin, on this side of it with some cadmium yellow. Bring that over into the center just a little bit. Okay. Now we'll shade on our pumpkins. I'm going to use the ox blood. And bring it up this side. Stem here. Kind of push that stem in there, and I think I might just go ahead and use this color on our pumpkins back here. Okay, now let's put a little bit of shading on our stems here. We're going to use some soft black. We're going to go along underneath the cut edge and along the back. And then we're going to pull some some areas in there on that stem just to make it look a little more aged and rustic, and those we can just kind of shade at the base of them. Okay, and then we'll highlight on here with some moon yellow. On this front edge. Highlight on there. Okay, I think I want to deepen the shading here. I might add a touch of soft black in with that ox blood. Shade down here. We've still got our face that we need to put on this pumpkin. And then we'll put a little bit back here. Okay, let's put our pattern on here. I'm just going to kind of freehand it. Hopefully I can get it similar to what I've drawn out. This is my favorite chalk pencil. Available on my website if you would like to have it. Okay, try to make that mouth a little bit similar. And then this one back here is going to have some eyes and a mouth. And that one we're not going to do anything at all to. And we're just going to base them in with black. We're not going to be too fancy about anything here. Oh, that was soft black, not black. We want black. So I'll have to go back and do those back there again. Paint a little thin here. I might have to put a second coat on. I'm using a round brush. I probably could go to a smaller size round brush. I might just leave those soft black back there so they're not quite, you know, as prominent as this one, because this one is up close and personal here. So I'll have to put a second coat on there, but I think that that's going to finish out our pumpkins, and they were so fast and so easy. So don't stress about the pumpkins because they were super quick. I don't even think it took me 5 or 6 minutes to paint those pumpkins in. So you know, you can take more care and more time if you feel you need it, but it's very fast. Very, very fast. Okay, so our pumpkins are done now. Let's move over to our pot here. Let's get some dioxazine purple out. We've already got soft black out. So we're going to start our shading on our belt here with dioxazine purple. Edges and then walk it in. And we'll do the other side. Walk it in. We'll go next to the buckle. Try and keep it off my gold there. And we'll go inside here. And when you go inside here, you're going to want to keep it a little bit more on the tighter float, so kind of stay up on the toe. Kind of push that paint in there. Don't push it in too hard. You don't want to create a hard, stark line. So make sure you've got some water on your brush, because that will help keep that soft. Okay, I think that looks pretty good for now. Let's go up here to our mix of stuff. So now you'll want on your palette some leaf green. Of course, your olive green. We may need some of that, I'm not sure. Some sour apple. And some white. Snow white will be fine, warm white. Either white will do. I still have to go down here and put a second coat on my mouth, but okay, I want to, first I'm going to shade a little bit with this leaf green. Along this edge here. Okay, let's kind of push that down in there. So while we have this leaf green, now in my instructions it will have the instructions for each item separately. But since I have the leaf green in my hand and I can't do anything to that till it dries, we might as well go ahead and do what we need to do down here. So we're going to shade the edges here. Okay, just get that started a little bit. Just a little bit more. See a little place that I missed with the black here. Because I adjusted my drawing. So. Alright, I'm going to go back up here. Oops. Turn on the camera here. I'm going to darken this. I need more water in my brush. I want my paint to move, not just lay on there. Okay, I think we're going to deepen that edge. We might have to add some soft black in there. But I'll let that dry. While it's drying, I'm going to start adding some dry brush onto our pot here. Let's try our Salem blue here. It might be too bright. We'll get our blue violet out in our sapphire. And maybe a touch of lavender. Okay, so let's see if my dry brush is dry. I think we'll start with our sapphire blue. We're going to load our brush. remove the excess paint on a dry paper towel. And we're going to come in here and just start adding some gentle pressure. You can start giving more pressure as you can tell how much is coming off of the brush. My brush wasn't completely dry, but it was dry enough I think I could get by, but I want you to use a dry brush, especially if you've never dry brushed before. Put some over here. This was with sapphire blue. A little bit up here. Okay, a little bit more. I got all those colors out because I wasn't sure what color I wanted to use here. I want some more over here. Let me see what this Salem blue is going to look like. Really want to remove all of that. And just give it a kiss of this. And I'll float some up there on those edges. I want to do my shading on here first with some lamp black. Get some fresh lamp black out. It's always best to use fresh paint when you're floating. And have your water drops handy on your palette. Alright, we want to go along the outside edge of the pot. This is with lamp black. I'm using a 1/2 inch flat. I may go to a smaller brush when I get up in a higher section here. I'm just going to go right over my broom thing there, because we're going to paint that back in. Okay, up here along this edge. This edge. I'm going to go under the belt. More water. When you have to pick up more water, you got to work it into your brush, just like you work the paint into your brush. We'll go above the buckle too, or above the belt and buckle. just want to have a little bit of water in your brush when you're doing this. Don't have tons of water. If you feel like you've gotten too much water, just go tap the water edge of your brush onto your paper towel. This is the water edge. This is the paint edge. We only have paint on that one corner. We've worked it into our brush to get that nice softness that we need. Okay, let's go around the hat. Not sure how well this will show up since the hat is black, but you might leave just a little gap between the hat and the pot to make it look more like a shadow. And over here we'll just do a little bit down in here. Okay, I'm going to get a smaller brush to go up here. So I'll go down to my 8. Okay, we'll float here. Go up underneath this lip right here. And we're going to go inside back here. Going to be up on the tiptoe right here. I'm going to do a little bit along this edge, and then we're going to highlight the rest of it. Okay. And then we'll do down here. Got outline there, so I'm cleaning that up. And just a little tighter float here. Let me come back with my dioxazine purple. Couldn't remember what color I used there. I'm going to add the tiniest little bit of black to it. It will create almost like a black plum. Got on my buckle there. I'm going to clean that off. And then we'll go inside here. Alright, let's darken up our green on here. That was leaf green. Now, when I tell you I'm adding a little bit of black, I am adding a tiny little bit of black. And then if I need more, I'll go get another tiny little bit more. I want to create dark green here. And we're going to put this inside here. And we're also going to put it, of course, down here. Mix me up a little bit more here. Oh, that's not where I want a green. Okay, so I'm just going to scooch some of that up into, just like that. I just took the corner of the brush and just went back and forth and put a little bit in there to give that some movement in there. We want to start making our stuff look like it's getting ready to boil up. Okay, so our highlight on our green, where's our cad yellow? Actually, we have sour apple. Let me try. Well, I'm going to let that dry first. I'm going to move on to my graphite and do the highlight on there. And we're going to take, where's my graphite? We're going to take our graphite and mix a little bit of white with it. So we're just going to make a light gray. I'm going to go to a smaller brush here because I'm just going to do a smaller area. And I think I'm going to go I'm going to go to my 6 curve flat here. Now the curve flats, I do have 6s still on my website. The making of this video, I still have 6s and 12s. So I'm going to use them, but if you don't have them, you use whatever brush you like to use. A small angle brush, a small flat brush. So I'm going to highlight back here on this edge. And we'll come back and brighten that. This is a mix of graphite and white. Oops. I'm going to put paint all the way over. Enough. You can do a 1-to-1 mix for this part. Highlight on this outer edge here. A little bit down there. We'll put a little bit over here. It's not, we're going to get as much light as the other side. Okay, I'm going to work, before I brighten that highlight, I'm going to work on bringing my black over a little bit more. And I think I want to add some more blue into here. So walk it over a little bit. just a little bit more back underneath here. Okay, just darken that up just a little bit. Move some of that shadow there. Okay, back to my dry brush. I did not clean it out, so it's still good for me to use. That side's wet, so I'll work on this side. I'm going to go into my Salem blue. And start putting that in here. My sapphire blue. You can just play with this and do whatever. Need a little more sapphire blue here. Alright, I'm going to put a little bit of that blue on our handles. This is the sapphire blue. That went way over on my brush. Tried to mix a little bit of Salem blue with it, but that's a little bit too bright. I think I'll tap a little bit of white in there. Let's put some up here. Okay, get my scruffy brush. I'm going to pick up white this time. And I'm going to tap a little bit of that. I'm just going to tap this instead of rubbing it. A little bit over here. Back under this edge here, and down in here. Alright, I'm going to do the other side of my inside of my buckle. I couldn't do it all at the same time. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Alright, let's highlight on our stuff here. Let's see if the sour apple's going to show up. Go to a different color. It showed up okay. Let's see. Okay, that's the color I want to try. It's a new color, chartreuse yellow. Let's see if it will be just a touch brighter than that sour apple. Oh yeah. So I'm just kind of dabbing it in here, making the stuff look like it's starting to bubble up. Get its okay. It just gives it a little bit of something going on there. I think I'm going to try this color for a highlight down here. Back to back float. I think I'm going to have to do that with some white because that's not going to show up. Alright, let me get my liner brush here. And put just a little bit of white on here. And I'm going to go out here and add a little highlight on this back edge. Just kind of drag it. You can float this instead of dragging it like I am. It is a personal preference here. A lot. Okay, so up here in the water, I want to create some swirls in the water. So, start. Just some little curlicue things going on there. We're going to take our chartreuse yellow and kind of highlight those. Or really highlight those. That dry. So on the hat here, on the band, let's do a back-to-back float. So you float down one side, we usually put it in the center of something, and then I go right next to that one. You can overlap it a little bit. Some overlap it. I like to try and get just right next to it and then walk it out. A little bit more paint for the side. Light off of my lights. So then we have a back-to-back float there. I also want to put one up here in my belt up here. Go right here. And wrap the side do like to mop my back-to-back floats. I'll have to repeat that. Just when you do them, you don't want a gap. That's the one thing you don't want, is a gap in there. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit in here. Highlight. Okay, now I'll come back and repeat all of those. This one's probably dry enough to repeat. This time I won't come over as far, I'll just keep it concentrated right there in the center. Too much water in my brush here. I'm going to clean it out, reload it. That's looking pretty good. I think I need that a little bit more solid than that streaking there. And a touch more darker underneath here. Okay, if this is dry, our next thing is to take our chalk pencil, and we want to add some swirls coming up out of here. You can just put in as many as you would like to put in. I kind of made that one go through that one, but I'm not sure I like that, so I'm going to erase these two right here. I think I want another, oops, tall one. And then we can put a small one there. Okay, that makes some nice little swirls coming up out of there. And we're going to make those swirls with our liner brush. And I think I'm going to use our chartreuse yellow. So thin it down to inky consistency. Stay up on the tippy toe, break it down, don't try and do it all at one time. Just like lettering, break it down into sections and don't try and finish it all at one time. Let's be a little darker. To me, it's easiest if you can go in a, you know, a downward stroke. You just want to not, you want to stay up on the very tip of the brush. When you get tired, that's when you give more pressure. Or if your paint is not the right consistency, you give more pressure because you're trying to get the paint to come off of your brush. So, okay, so then we can go in and erase our graphite lines. And see if we need to do a little bit more on those. I'll take my leaf green while those are drying and a little bit of black, not too much black, and we'll kind of set these down in there. Actually, we could do that with the chartreuse as well. The chartreuse could look like the where it's bubbling up out of here. To make some kind of like wiggly lines. My liner's got a crazy hair on there. And that'll look like the your paint is dry before you start erasing. Okay, I think I want to highlight those with some white. Just, it's kind of a hit and miss kind of thing. Oops. Kind of got that one offline there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Okay. A little bit more shading down in here. This is lamp black. And I also want to go around the edge of the lip here. Let me get my a little bit more black on this pumpkin's mouth here. Alright. I'm loving this project here. Alright, we got our pumpkins done. We got our pot done. We got our witch's hat half done. So now we can go ahead and transfer in our broomstick and get the base coating on it with cocoa. And then we'll come back and finish the broom and the hat and a little bit of glow on the bats. I think we're getting pretty close to being done here. Okay, I didn't finish the buckle here. I heard everyone screaming, "Finish the buckle! Finish the buckle!" So I'll finish the buckle. So we're going to shade it with some soft black. I don't know how much of this will show up after we put our gold on here, but we'll do it in case you don't have the gold and you don't want to do it. You don't want to put the gold on here. So that's a little thick. Let me thin that down. Along the outside edge. We're basically going to do all the edges with soft black. Use a small brush to do this because you don't want it to take over. And ideally you need to let each side dry before you continue. And we'll do all the way around the center part. Okay, now we want to add some of this Venetian gold metallic paint on here. So I'm going to brush this on here, and I don't think our shading will probably show up. So I will come back and do some shading and a little bit of highlight on here when this dries. I couldn't remember, it's been a while since I painted a buckle, and I couldn't remember if I did the shading first or if I did it after it dried. This metallic paint is just a wonderful paint. I mean, it has such great coverage. See that? Oh, look at that. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Oh, dude. We're going to add some bling on here, too, on this, this down here. So really, it's only going to take one coat of that Venetian gold. Inside here, I just want to sparkle everything up. I just love sparkle and bling, and I think this witch is cooking up something sparkly. So shoot this up good. This is Glamour Dust Limelight. I love, love, love the Glamour Dust products. So we're going to put a little bit of this in our mix of witch's brew. Just right in there. Sparkle it up. Probably put a second coat on there. Feeling if that's dry enough to shade on it. Alright, some soft black. I'm just going to shade along all the edges. Pretty narrow float. You don't want your buckle to turn black. I'm using soft black. And we can come back and darken this up if we need to. Like this side over here. Woo. Stuck my hand in the white paint. Don't want to be spreading that around. A little bit more over here. Okay, let's make a little highlight with some white on here. And we can get just a little bit above and below. Could if we had some paint on our brush. I don't think I like it above and below, so I'm going to remove that. Okay, we'll just keep it on the outside edge there. Okay, there's our buckle. Let's add a little bit more Glamour Dust up here. You could even take the Glamour Dust up the swirls if you wanted to. That could be fun if you want to mess with doing the swirls again. If you don't want to mess with doing the swirls again, then don't. Because you've already done them twice, once with the chartreuse yellow and once with the white to highlight them. So the Glamour Dust will go on a little bit easier because it's a much thinner paint, so it will flow off your brush a little bit easier. You definitely want to stay on the tip though, so you don't get any fatness. And if you don't have Glamour Dust or you don't like bling, then don't put it on there. The buckle I want to or the belt I want to sparkle it up too, but I'm going to use Ice Crystal. It's a clear Glamour Dust product. Of all the Glamour Dust products, I probably use it the most. You could also use a lavender Glamour Dust because the belt is painted lavender, so you could just intensify that color with some Glamour Dust. But I'm going to use the Ice Crystal on here because our witch is a girly witch, wherever she may be. And she likes the sparkle and the bling. Even though she's a witch, she likes the sparkle and the bling. So Why not give it to her? Okay, I'll come in and put a second coat on that. Oh yes, this is going to be a sparkly, blingy. Oh, it's going to be fabulous. Okay, I'm going to get my broom handle on now, because I think I've got all the glamour dust up there that I need. I might wait for this to dry, because my broom handle's going to go over that, and put a second coat on there. We'll come back and we'll finish the hat first, because it's not going to take too much to finish that, and then we'll do our broom. Okay, we got our broom on here, and I've added some little rocks, you know, just a few random rocks in there. We base coated those with graphite. So we've got our handle with cocoa, and then this is moon yellow. But I want to finish up on the hat over here. So we're going to take some sapphire. Let me get some fresh out. And some fresh Salem blue. And we're going to start adding a shading on here. So I'm going to put it on where some wrinkles would be on this hat. I'll put some along this edge of the hat down here. And along this edge of our hat top. And we'll go along this edge. I'm going to bring that out into, I don't have very much paint on my brush here, so don't get carried away. I'll keep this on the right side of the hat mostly, I think. I might do a little bit around the oops, can't see that there. Well, I'm going to have to put it on this other edge too, because I need to define the shape of the hat. Put it along. Some water. Oop. Alright, so we basically kind of outlined the hat with a little bit of this, not too much. Okay, I'm going to come back, I'm just going to dirty brush into some Salem blue. Kind of mix it together. And we might try and keep this a little bit more on this edge. I need to define the shape of the hat there. Kind of lost the shape. Come back in and kind of get our shape going back in here. some black because I want our hat to stay black. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So now we got to bling up the band here with our limelight. Or you can use just ice crystal. You'll want to use 2 coats. Blingy blingy. We'll let that dry and then we'll add a second coat on there. Alright, on our handle, we want to create, let me get some soft black out. Okay, got our soft black here, and I think I'll use my liner brush. It'll be smaller. I could go to a smaller round brush. Well, I think I'll grab my liner because I want to create a little bit of detail in this handle. So I want to create like a knot. And then just some lines in it. This handle some character. All right, that's okay. Just some knots in there and a few lines. Okay, I'm gonna get my antique gold out here. And I'm gonna keep my liner brush for a minute. And I'm gonna define my stuff that goes around. Pull some, just kind of dragging it, some antique gold down in here, and our broom. Some coming up out of here. And we'll get some cad yellow out. And we'll kind of do the same thing with our yellow, cad yellow. Some of that in here. Oops, wrong color. Went into the wrong color there. Do the same around here. Here. Okay, got a nice looking broom going on there. Alright, we're going to shade on this. broom handle with some soft black. Now you're going to want to keep a very narrow float here. So we're going to go put a little bit down in here. We're going to go up the edges. Don't let it take over your whole handle because you got to go down the other side. Okay. While that side's drying, we're going to be up on the tip toe here and add a little bit of this down in here. And right along here, shade. And that kind of goes down in there. Here, we'll shade. This is still with soft black. Go ahead and do these outer edges a little bit, kind of give it the illusion it's wrapped around there. And we're going to want to create some just a hit and miss kind of thing, just adding some little streaks. I'll bring this out a little bit. On the chisel edge, I can create a little bit up in there. And now we need to go up the other side of the handle. So we've done up and down each side of the handle. We've done down here. Now we want to add some white in here. Get fresh white out. And we'll just add some little highlights on here, just a few. Okay, and we'll put a highlight down the handle here. And we want to add color on our handle here, so I think I'm going to go into the sapphire blue, or you could go into lavender. Go into some lavender here. See if I can get it to show up on this brown. I'll mix lavender and sapphire. A little bit on there, just hit and miss. We could put a little bit of our green on there as well. Our leaf green would probably be the best. It would probably show up. Put a little bit of this down here. Or you could put orange down in your broom, doesn't have to be green. Okay, I need to get another coat of my glamour dust on the hat band. Okay, I'm going to wide angle you out a little bit. I think that's looking pretty good. Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Okay, we need to finish our rocks here. So let's zoom you back in. That's the last thing we need to do besides working on the edge of this. Okay, I feel like this moon needs a little bit more of some of our colors. So maybe our purple and blue. I have both on my brush, so I dampened the moon. And I'm just going to tap this in here. A little bit too wet, looks like. Just softening it down with my finger. And just put a little bit of that in the moon. I think that might help carry our color a little bit. Of course, when you wide angle out, you can't see it as well. So we'll just leave that as something you can do or not do. I'll leave it out of the instructions, but if you're watching this video, it's something you can add if you want to. Okay, back into the rocks. Woo! Too far. Okay, we just got to finish up our rocks here. So I want to put a little bit of that Salem blue as a highlight on the rocks. I painted them in with graphite. I'll probably have to repeat that, especially on those little bitty ones. Oh, geez, you weren't even on camera for any of that. So that was Salem blue. Let's go to lamp black now. And put a little bit of this on the bottom of our rocks. Got 3 little ones over here. And 3 there. And then these rocks here. Wide angle you out just a little bit because we want to shade around those rocks now. With just a little bit of lamp black underneath them. Underneath the hat. Like their shadow. Do a little bit underneath this pot here. Just a little bit down in here. Can repeat around our rocks. This is a very small amount of paint. Okay. Now, last thing that we want to do on here is bring the glow of this down here. But I feel like that needs to be glazed over. The moon needs to have a little glaze put over it. So I'm going to take my cad yellow. And to create a glaze, you just get water in your brush and get a little bit of paint and mix it in with that water. Tiny little bit. Oh, we gotta finish our bats there. We're gonna put the same colors on our bats that we put on our hat. Okay, brighten that up just a little bit. So for our bats, we're going to put that sapphire blue. We'll just highlight the tops of them. You got to really work that paint into your brush to keep from having a hard line like I just did there. I didn't take the time to really work it. Okay, then you can take a little bit of that Salem blue and mix it in. And a little bit brighter. So we can see our bats there. Okay. Now we need to get, I'm going to get another scruffy brush because mine is all wet. And we're going to get our cad yellow. Stuck my arm in the white paint again, goodness. Alright, let me get a little bit more cad yellow out here. Bring our cad yellow out. And we want to add some glow from the moon on our project. I have to dry brush that on there. Wherever you think the glow of the moon is going to hit your project, and just put some of this cad yellow on here. It might hit just a touch of the witch's hat, not too much. Maybe a little bit down here. It could hit on our rocks. I'll have to tap that on there. So just tap some on our rocks there. A little bit of that glow. We could have a little bit on our hat. I guess we could dry brush this on here like this. This is a damp brush, but I'm just putting a little paint on there and letting it drag. Wherever you think the glow would hit. Drag or dry brush it on there. Okay, we can put a little bit on our bats. put a little bit on the lip of this. It will hit that buckle, but I kind of doubt it. Alright. I think we're good. Let's wide angle out here. Alright, there we have it. The witching hour. Let's put it on our box. I have to figure out what I want to do for the rim of it yet. I don't want to leave it that sapphire blue. And then see if I want to... Maybe I do want to leave it that sapphire blue. I don't know. Put some purple on it there. So I'll figure out what I want to do with the rim, and then we'll come back and finish that up. But look at that blingity bling 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 on there. Woo! I love it. I love it. We could even put the bling on the moon. Put the Glamour Dust Ice Crystal on the moon if you wanted. Oh, that's so cute. Alright, so in the end I made just one little change on here. First of all, I went back and blackened this back in over here because the hat just needs to be more black. And so on top of the blue I added a little bit of purple and then came back with my yellow. I just needed to pull that hat a little bit more forward, and I felt like it kept blending in with the pot. So that is our last thing, and I did dry brush just a little bit of purple of the lavender into the pot too, not too much, and a little bit over here on the edge of the pumpkin. So I think that finishes this project. I think it turned out just cute as can be. I'm very happy with it. I hope you enjoyed painting it and painting with me, and I will see you guys on the next one.